Alright, so fractions. What is a fraction? A fraction is just something that we use to talk about how many parts of the whole are we concerned about. So if we take this here, it has 4 equal parts, and we take away 3. So what we did, we took away 3 out of the 4 parts. So this top term right here, this 3, is what we call a numerator. The bottom term is a denominator. So the denominator is always going to be the collective whole that we had. So all 4 of those parts, that was our whole. And we took away 3. So this quantity right here, the numerator, is going to be how many parts of that whole were we talking about. So fractions can be reduced. So if you have the fraction 1/2, 1/2 is equal to 2 over 4. Now, a lot of times teachers are going to ask you to put a fraction into its lowest terms. And all that means is that if you were given this fraction here, 2 over 4, it means that it can be reduced, or the denominator and the numerator can be devised. So let's take this term here, 2 over 4. We can reduce this by dividing both the top and the bottom terms by 2. So if we divide the top by 2, it's going to equal 1. If we divide the bottom by 2, it's going to equal 2. Alright? Now, some numbers that you cannot reduce any further are what we call prime numbers. And a couple examples of that are 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 17, also 13, 19, 23, and some others. So if we ever see any of these, in most cases you can't reduce them anymore, again, unless it's a 2. 2 is a unique prime number. So all this means is that, take 5 for example, you can only get 5 by multiplying by itself times 1. So if you took 6 for example, 6 isn't a prime number because 2 times 3 equals 6, and also 6 times 1. So 6 isn't a prime number, but any of these values up here will be prime numbers. So let's jump into an example here. Say we have 14 over 21. And the first thing that we can say here is what is going to go into both the top and the bottom 2 terms here. This is really where your multiplication skills will come into handy here. Because if we know that 7 can go into both of these, we can say 7 times 2 is 14, and 7 times 3 is 21. So you can cross out those 7s, and what you're going to be left with is 2 over 3. Alright, we'll do another one. 15 over 35. So anytime you see a 5 in this place here at the end of a number, in all bets it can be divisible by 5. So let's start there. We'll take 5 times 3 equals 15, and 5 times 7 equals 35. So we can cross out our 5s, and we're left with 3 over 7. And this term is just the reduced form of this. So these are equal, but this is just in its lowest terms. So whenever you see that on an exam or the teacher asks for that, that's all they're really talking about, is these 2 terms can't be reduced any further because, well, 7's a prime number, that can't be reduced anymore. 3's a prime number, that can't be reduced anymore. So let's take one more, and we will go, we'll just do 20 over 70. Now, anytime you see a 0 in this place here, you can just cross those out, and that just will equal 2 over 7. But let's say, for instance, that you didn't know that. We'll just take 20 over 70, and what that equals, you have 2 times 10 and 7 times 10. Equal those. You can cross out your 10s, and again, you're left with 2 over 7. So you can do this really either way. Again, these are going to be equal. All you're doing is making it so it's in its lowest term. And that really helps moving further on with fractions when you're adding and dividing. We'll get into that in later videos though.